Welcome to episode 5 of the Three Faces of Fantasy, where we're going to have a recap of week 4 and your week 5 outlook. All right, welcome back, guys. Another week here. Again, of course, your host Mojo, along with.
Yo, what's up? It's me, the Guru.
And of course, we will have Jay the Truth joining us shortly, but we're gonna go ahead and pop it off. Guru, what did
Yo.
your fantasy week look like last week?
Yeah, so the weather out here in Cali is pretty nice. Birds is chirping. Yeah, I had a good lunch today. So what else you want to talk about?
No. You usually give us your record for the week. You know,
Oh,
usually.
yeah. Okay, so
What happened?
yeah.
What happened?
Well, last week I went 10-3.
You mean week 3?
Yeah, did. Oh, you want to know about week 4?
Yeah, week 4.
Yeah. I took a dip. I went 6-7. A modest 6-7 this past. A couple outliers, but hey, no excuses is what happened, and I'm ready for week 5. Let's go. Week 4 is behind me. I'll put that in the trash.
That's what we refer to in the football world as a trap game. You go in with that, that record from the week before, think it's gonna come out the same every week. It'll never be the same every week. Okay.
Correct.
Personally, I have been taking some dips and dives here and there, but I am proud to say I did a good 7-1 this week. So I was on the good side of that flip that occurred. In that, there were definitely some outliers, as you put it. People that maybe showed up that you maybe didn't expect that much output from. What's your take on that?
I mean, yeah, definitely. There was a couple people you have, a couple people that bought out that were unexpected, and some who you didn't. Damian Pierce, for example, he had not, although his role had been increasing, and now he's at a 50%. But the previous week he had 27%, so his role is increasing. That wasn't something you didn't anticipate. Sure, did not anticipate for what I consider the best tight end, Mr. Mark Andrews, to just provide relatively nothing. And just certain things like that you don't count on that took place that could change everybody's week. Plus, I'm sure a couple more that just flipped the whole entire week for people.
Yeah, I know. In the one game I did lose, Mr. Hawkinson. Where did that come from? That was definitely unexpected. He put up better numbers than most of the league. I actually made the faux pas of having Alvin Kamara in my lineup. I know we talked about this last Tuesday. We reminded everybody about the early game, and I myself woke up at like 11:30. And the first thing I'm doing on a Sunday at 11:30 a.m. is checking those lineups, making sure everything. And I'm like, wow, Kamara has wait a minute. He's not playing. Yeah, so
Bro, no excuse. I'm out here on the West Coast. I woke up at 5:30 a.m. just to make sure that he was playing. Just to make sure, because I have him in 2 leagues. And I saw that update, took him out, pivoted to my backups. No excuse. No, I ain't trying to hear that. Now, if you're not on the West Coast,
no excuse. I agree, because it is. I mean, Now, while I do have the games don't start here until 1 p.m. on this East Coast here, but yeah, 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday. Good luck waking me up. I should have said it Saturday night. That's my bad. And
Y'all spoiled.
there is an
Y'all
early game
spoiled,
this week
man.
as well.
Y'all spoiled. Y'all just spoiled rotten out there on the East Coast. I guess the world's trying to balance it out since y'all got to shovel snow and all that. But y'all spoiled out there. We got our games begin at 10, bro. London 6:30.
Yeah, well, you guys have your own problems, you know, your little forest fires and earthquakes and things. So, you know, it kind of does level out there and there. We shovel snow, you put out fires. We'll throw some snow your way so you can put out those fires, okay?
Bet.
But no, seriously, there is another early game this week. There's another London game. Who's in that London game, though?
I'm trying to think. Who is in there? You know, I haven't even looked at it. Let me see. I'll pull it up.
It is Green Bay and New York Giants.
Oh.
So if you have Aaron Rodgers, if you have any of these guys, nobody has any Giants players more than likely, but except Saquon Barkley.
No, not exactly. People might be in a pinch. Remember, we had a lot of injuries. True. So, you know, there might be some people picking up Mr. Robinson, Mr. James. No, they're not going to pick up Kenny G. Even if he wasn't hurt, they wouldn't be picking him up. So you might have some people.
Yeah. So, yeah, just keep in mind Green Bay and the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants will be playing this Sunday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's about 6:30 a.m. Western Time, Pacific Standard Time. So be sure to set your line up on Saturday night. Don't make the mistake I did. However, I did still win that game. So just shows
you should have been zeroed out.
Kind of prowess my squad
should have been zeroed out. Anybody that played Kamara should have an automatic default loss.
Oh man! So the other game where it was just a turn-up event. These Detroit Lions are out here putting up points. They are the highest scoring team in the NFL. They put up more points than anybody. The sad part of that is their defense is the worst in the league. They are 32nd in points against. So yeah, that was close to 100-point game. Hence Mr. Hockenson. Who else really stood out in that game, in your opinion? Nobody.
You talking about just in that game, or you talking about the year?
Well, in that particular game, because that's a lot of points. You would expect to see fantasy numbers all over the place when you're talking about two teams putting up 100 points.
Oh, my RB4, Mr. Jamal Williams. Jay Willie.
Definitely.
Man, in one league, he got me 48 points, bro. 48. But in the regular league, it was like 20-something.
It makes you wonder, were there any punts in this game? You know?
Right. Nah, it was all gas, no brakes.
Yeah. Let's just
not to mention, you know, some people started the week, Mr. Jared Goff. You know, he was a very favorable start, mainly because they were playing Seattle, but then he kind of fell off when it was like, all right, no Swift, no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no DJ Chark, no way. But Mr. Goff said, nah, I got you. Don't even trip. It's still Seattle. Yeah. I got you.
And I noticed that quite a few people, like you said, had him on their bench, and he did much better than the quarterback that maybe they started. I found myself in that predicament this week, as a matter of fact. As we've talked about, I'm a little late on picking up quarterbacks. So, you know, but, you know, in one league I had Mr. Hurts in at quarterback. And while I still won, again, he didn't have a very good week. What about these quarterbacks? They were all over the place this past week, don't you think?
Yeah, and depending on what kind of platform you play in, Jay Hurts, you know, what hurt was no pun intended, but what hurt was that pick six, you know, and Aaron Rodgers also, the pick six. Some leagues you actually lose up to like 8 points on that pick six, and that can be a maker or breaker depending on what platform that you're in. So definitely Kyler Murray is somebody who we don't really. He's not the sexiest name when it comes to fantasy, but well, when it comes to football, but when it comes to fantasy, it's like he take the first 3 quarters off, and then that fourth quarter he be like, I guess you know what I think what it is that after 3 quarters he checks his roster on his fantasy team, and he looks at himself and he's like, oh man, I still need another 16 points. But then he goes into K1 mode and starts scrambling all over the place, and still makes it a very good fantasy output for you.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I've had him 2 years in a row now in this one league because it's a keeper league, and that is so him. That is the perfect description. Like those first 3 quarters, I'm like, wow, he's got 12 points. He's gonna make me lose this week. And then I fall asleep, wake up from a nap, and he has 50 points. I'm like, what could he possibly have done? And the part about that is that they a lot of times they end up losing because that's just not a winning recipe. I actually took a flyer on a quarterback this week.
Here you go.
I picked him up in 2 leagues because again, I'm struggling at quarterback in a couple of leagues. I had Mr. Winston, and obviously we know what's going on with his back. But I picked up Zach Wilson.
How did it work out for you?
It worked out. I won. I put up, quite a bit of points. He didn't necessarily blow it out of the water, but he was definitely serviceable. In that particular league, he got me 40 points. Comparatively speaking, let's see. Comparatively speaking, in that league, you had Jalen Hurts with 36. So, yeah, I was definitely glad that I picked him up because other than that, I think I had somebody that I didn't want to play. So, I had to play Russell Wilson this week as well. He didn't let down this week, which is finally something good, positive to say. But, I mentioned that I was going to drop him. He's still on my very soon to be dropped list. He's going to have to show me 3 weeks of positive production in order to make up for the 3 that he showed me nothing. But then we look at his numbers and somebody like Geno Smith, and Geno Smith took over the helm in Seattle, and he's actually been playing pretty solid football. Any other?
Well, upcoming next, you got Miami. Well, as far as Zach Wilson, I should say, I believe upcoming next, you got Miami, Packers, and Denver defense. So.
Yeah, I probably won't play him. I'll probably be picking up another quarterback tonight, but I actually already have a claim in for a quarterback in that league. Just because I kind of went on a fire with him. I went with him only because of the opponent, because he was playing Pittsburgh. I mean, if the New York Jets are in the bottom quarter of the league, then that will put Pittsburgh in the bottom. Yeah, so I just figured they would win that game. It was closer than I thought it would be. But then part of that is him getting his feet wet. He's still a young guy. They were really looking for him to this year step into that role and be the guy. So we'll see. He's got some weapons there, some serviceable weapons. So we'll see. What other quarterbacks out there are doing what they need to do? I know I looked at Matt Stafford last night and I was like, wow, where did you notice that he kept floating the ball? He made me want to not have him ever again in fantasy last night.
Well, there's a reason why I have no Stafford whatsoever. And I was even leery. I sure don't have Allen Robinson. And I was kind of even leery on Cooper Kupp because of the injury that Stafford sustained. And they try to shoo it at the beginning of the season. And I don't know. I was just concerned that, they were a high offense last year. And if they're going to repeat to be a high offense, he has to be able to throw the rock. And that's the only way you can get the running game going is if, you have that threat of their quarterback. But I don't know. I don't think their arm is as good as they saying it is.
Yeah, I think he doesn't look like himself. I'll say that. I mean, we obviously been watching Stafford play since 1942. So the guy, he doesn't look like himself. And the way he was throwing the ball, he didn't have his normal motion. It was literally like he's throwing it up in the air for his receivers to go get, and the ball on a couple of occasions was nowhere near them. So if you have a guy like him, it might be time to bring in that reserve or to start looking at the wire for some other options. Obviously, they're going to keep throwing the ball. They're like he's like Derek Carr in that regard, where he's going to keep throwing. So if you have him, he's probably going to be serviceable, get you enough points to maybe get a W. But if you want consistency and high scoring from your quarterback position, you might want to try to move on.
I mean, he did have 254 yards, so it wasn't like he was just trash. He just wasn't enough.
Right. And again, we do also want to definitely shout out Mr. Tua. All the best to you.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
Speedy recovery. Feel horrible. It just, when I saw the play, it just looked bad. It looked like the same exact play from the previous week, the way his head hit the ground. Part of it, I think, is just, it doesn't have to do anything with the tackle. That's why there's no flags on these plays. It's the way that he's falling. So that may be something that the coaching staff may want to look at because it is a full contact sport. And if you don't know how to fall properly, it could be horrendous, like we saw the other day. Some other quarterbacks that stood out. Bear had a great game. Stafford, very mundane. That same league, 26 points, 254 yards, but not much more to talk about. In your leagues, does it seem to be more touchdown? I mean, obviously, fantasy football, you want touchdowns, but if you have a quarterback that puts up 254 yards, you would think it would be more points, but without touchdowns, doesn't it make a huge difference?
It depends on the platform, like you said, because a couple of leagues that I have, it doesn't. Of course, like you said, touchdown equity is something that you always striving for out of your QB. However, how many first downs? Like one of my full PPR leagues that we have, you get extra points for every time they throw a first down. So that's obviously more points. You get bonus points for over 300 yards or over 350 or 400 yards. And then, of course, those 40-yard bombs, those are always lovely to have in the league. So it just kind of depends on what you're doing and what's going on. Not to mention those negative points. Like we talked about Jay Hurts and Aaron Rodgers earlier with the pick sixes. That took away 8 points. So that's basically taking away a touchdown that you've already scored. And that hurt me considerably in one league particularly.
And that's a lot. I don't know that any of my leagues take that many points off for a turnover, but I know those are out there. And that's, again, like we talked about early in the season, you need to know the scoring in your league. Like if you've got a guy that just regularly throws interceptions, you're not going to want to pick that guy up because that's a lot of points to lose, especially going against what you're gaining, because that's basically a touchdown, that you're taking away if they throw an interception. That guy, Patrick Mahomes, he actually had a regular quarterback's day, like very normal. It wasn't, but
how many yards did Patrick Mahomes have in week?
In the actual game, it looked, because of the way he plays, it looks more spectacular than I would.
How many yards did Patrick Mahomes throw in week 4?
What'd you say?
I was asking you, how many yards did he throw in week 4? Do you know?
Week 4, he had 249 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is interesting, but they weren't long touchdowns. The one he could have walked in itself. Now that's where you get a lot of bonuses on the long touchdowns, obviously. While we're talking about Mr. Mahomes, we're going to go ahead and bring Jay the Truth in on this. We're talking about these quarterbacks and, the ups and downs of the quarterback gamble. Good evening, Jay.
Good evening, fellas. Apologize. A lot of rain out here. Hurricane Ian. Whole lot of traffic up here in Philadelphia.
Yes, sir. Fly, Eagles, fly. Sorry about that.
All right, so I'm sorry. So where were you guys at again?
We were talking about the quarterbacks in the league and how the you had some that showed up unexpectedly, some that really had pedestrian days, and and we were going after the quarterbacks, move right into some running backs and see how that turned out. I was telling Guru that I actually picked up Zach Wilson last week, and I played him, and I won that game. You know, I don't know that if it wasn't for who was it?
Did he win it for you?
No, he didn't win it for me, but I won the game. But I won the game. So yes, he did because I won by about 40, and that's exactly what he had. But yeah.
So I mean, I've been running with I'm running with Joe Burrow. I mean, I tell you, it's my man over there in Seattle,
Geno Smith.
Geno Smith. I mean, is he the truth? Is he for real? I don't know. Do you guys already talk about him? Not sure.
Just quick briefly. I'm not gonna say he's the truth, but for them, he's gonna have to be. And he's answering the call. He's got the same numbers as Russell Wilson has in Denver, and Russell obviously has more of a cast, I think. So them moving on from Russell, I don't think it was a bad idea, and I think he's doing more than his share to try to get them wins every week.
Yeah, he's been fairly consistent.
Yeah,
that's one thing about it. I'm gonna lie, I picked him up. I picked him up in a few games. A few leagues. Talking about he's been over 300 yards for the past 2 weeks.
Yeah.
He's got some weapons. And he even had 50 running yards last week. I mean, that was an outlier playing Detroit. Seems like everybody does that playing Detroit.
I can't wait to play Detroit.
Right. And apparently against Seattle as well.
Right.
Exactly. Right. But I don't know. I'm happy for him. You know, it's been long enough. Geno. He's getting his time to shine. He's getting his time to shine. Of course, the other one's golf, and I don't know. I mean, after those two, I mean, is there anybody, as far as talking about waivers, anybody after those two guys that seem interesting?
Well, I picked up Zach Wilson, and I think that he's going to turn the Jets around. So we'll see how that works out for me.
You and your,
but I do have a claim in for another quarterback. Speaking of that, because I don't really see starting them. Guru was just going over their schedule coming up, and yeah, we'll go ahead and. So I'm going to go ahead and jump the gun and pick up Mr. Bridgewater and see what I could do with him, because honestly, he looked really good for the remainder of that game. I thought he looked really good.
No, he did. He did. He was safe. He was safe.
Yeah, he was safe.
But I told you my doors are open. My office is open. I got a couple quarterbacks you might need.
Yeah. So I'm going because I'm gonna be running with Zach and him and Bridgewater. So yeah, I'll make you a trade. You take one of them off my hand, give me a quarterback.
Teddy too. Oh no, you can keep them. I'll just make you a trade.
Well, I would give you Murray, but I know you never want to give anything up. You never want to give anything up, so that's why.
That's the name of the game, my friend. That's the name of the game. Keep what you got and get something more. Yeah.
So let's move on from that.
Right. Yeah. So we this is one last quarterback that I'm going to give a shout out to, because I keep expecting him to fail every week, and I don't know why. It's so stupid. Mr. Brady had another pretty good game. Works my nerve, but I got to give him his props. Respect where it's due.
Hey, he got his toys back. He got some of his toys back. Godwin Evans was monstrous with 880 and 2. Godwin was out there taking care of business. We lost Cameron Brate, But he got his toys back, so that's all he needed. That's all he needed.
Yeah, true story.
I'm still happy that somebody in one league dropped Brady, and I went and scooped him up.
What?
Yep. Man, hey, sometimes that rage trade is a wonderful thing for me.
Yeah. You know, I'm one of those. Like, I'll drop somebody, but some people are kind of undroppable. You don't count them out, and I will put him in that category.
Most deaf.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
hey.
So what about these running backs? I think we saw quite a few injuries this week, but we also saw quite a few backs really step up and show us what they're capable of. Any ones in particular that stood out for you guys?
Well, outside injury, Javonte Williams' injury is going to have a trickle-down effect, I think, on everybody, because obviously the most natural run or the natural go-to is Melvin Gordon. Unfortunately, in most leagues, he's already rostered in most leagues. So everybody's looking at Mike Boone. The next game for the Broncos, the next game coming up for the Broncos Thursday, they have the Colts. But then right after that, they're going to have the Chargers and then the Jets. So, you look at it like that, maybe. But Melvin Gordon, he also fumbled. He dropped the easy pass. And, it's easy to bench him. In the past, when he's done that, I think in week 2 and 1, it's easy to bench him when you got Jay Will. But now when he's fumbling, you look to your left, you look to your right, and be like, yeah, just go back in the game. Just go back in the game. But I know a lot of people are running to pick up Mike Boone. So that's Denver as far as Denver goes. And then Cordero Patterson. Make sure I say that man's name right.
Whatever.
Cordero. He had to correct some people 2 weeks ago. He left with an injury. So of course you think the natural pivot is Tyler Algier, who did come in and do good. The next games are Bucs, Niners, and Bengals, but he did come in and do well. However, something you got to take into consideration is, as well as Tyler A did, Mr. D Williams, Damian, I forgot this too. Damian Williams, he went out in IR in week 1, and so he might be back. He should be back next week. So that's something to take into consideration. For those of you that spend $5 or $5 to get your players, you may not want to invest too much into Tyler Algier because you never know what the role Williams will have upon his return.
Yeah, that whole Atlanta backfield. I mean, just the way they run it, I'm a little nervous about it. But I would say Williams is probably the best man. If I was going to pick any of them up, probably Williams. But Algier eventually, later on this season, I think he'll eventually take over. But they run that whole committee situation, so I'm not too happy about anybody, even if they were all healthy. So not on Atlanta. I like.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
I was running with Patterson in one league, and so him going down, and he was literally my flex, and I don't have anybody right now that I have like 2 other people on IR. So it's like, okay, so Will is already taken, so I gotta go after Algier. But looking at the schedule, I'm not gonna play him in the next 3 weeks. I'll take one of those other guys off my bench and play. I'm not playing him against the Bucs. Right. It's just not gonna happen. So that's going to be interesting to see how that does unfold, because it'd be interesting if he came out and really played like he did the other day. But again, with the way the schedule looks, I wouldn't play him.
Yeah, I'm guessing if you're really hurting for a running back and hope that one of these guys just gets has one of those games where they break one. But I'll take a shot on Boone. Because, like you said, Melvin Gordon dropping balls, but Huntley over there in Atlanta got a lot of run. He got a lot of run without Algier in it. I'm a little intrigued with Pacheco. What do you guys think about over there in KC with Pacheco?
Pacheco was somebody that I had him my queue during the draft time, and he's somebody that ended up picking up, I think, in like 2 leagues. He's nice. He's a nice spill off of CEH. Now the thing about it is, even last week with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, most people were probably concerned about playing him against the Tampa defense, the run defense that really hasn't been as vaunted as people thought it was. But he keeps on producing. Uh, um, he's just been, I think he's the number 4 running back in fantasy right now. So Isaiah Pacheco is capitalizing off of that as well. And I think he's going to be able to be a valuable asset to the fantasy world.
Yeah, especially when he
doesn't stay healthy.
Yeah. And I wasn't high on either of them just because of the way the offense is and Patrick Mahomes and everything. But yeah, they're both producing in fantasy, which is great for them.
But did you pay attention to the other side of that game, other side of the field with Rachaad White? He's been, he had only 8 less routes than Fournette, and that's after he fumbled the kickoff return. I mean, now, of course, Tampa didn't run the ball much, but he was very active in it, and he's on the field a lot. And I'm starting to see that Fournette is taking less and less percentage routes. So that's something to keep your eye on as well, Mr. Rachaad White.
Good point, because I worry about that with Fournette. Like he's a great back, but he hasn't had the numbers so far this year that you would expect out of him in that offense. So yeah, if somebody's dipping into his numbers or dipping into his touches, that's definitely an area of concern for people that drafted him. Maybe round 4 or 5, somewhere like that. Because you got to be prepared for, you hope you have somebody else on your bench or in your flex that you can put in that,
But, as you say, there's a couple guys that may not, 2 guys in particular that are out on IR. Gus Edwards, he is being cleared to practice with the team again. And Brian Robinson, for those that are in leagues where Robinson is still on the waivers, he should not be. But the Washington Commanders have already told us and shown us that they have already moved away from Gibson. His routes have been reduced significantly over the past 2 weeks, and basically letting you know, like, hey, we're getting this path ready, just getting it ready for Mr. Brian Robertson. I think now he's at 46% with route run for Antonio Gibson. So it's only going to get worse when Robinson gets in the game.
And some of that I think is game flow too. These guys keep losing, keep finding themselves. You're relying on Mr. Wentz's arm to win games, and that's not going to cut it in that part of town.
Yeah, I got a lot of stock in Robinson. Not going to play him this week. Wait and see what they do. I'm sure they want to get his feet wet, let him get in and get acclimated since his unfortunate situation. But I know I was high on Robinson over there during the draft because he looked good. He was supposed to be taking over that backfield, and I'm just hoping they didn't deviate from the plan. I mean, Gibson, how's Gibson been? I mean, he hasn't been doing too much. So I think I'm hoping, I'm banking on him showing up. That's my flex. I'm trying to run him in the flex the rest of the season.
Not a bad.
Speaking of taking on backfield, Mo, don't you have Breece Hall in the league?
Yes, I do. But I have him and his running mate in the same league. So it's I don't play either of them because I don't know which one to play every week. Because one week is this guy's week, the next week is that guy. So
Breece Hall, his routes is up 67%. And the next games is Miami, Packers, and Broncos. So he's up to 67%. So it's looking more and more like he is planting his feet into the number one W1 running back position. So when you play me, go ahead and play him.
You just throw him in there,
Huh?
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Why not?
Why not? I mean, and that's a true statement. Why not? Like, we are in week 4, and I think in that league I might be like 1-3. And so what do I have to lose? I gotta find a way to get it done.
I do have one last question for you as far as backs. I know this may not be as personal for either one of you fellas, but Mr. Tony Pollard versus Mr. Zeke. It seems like nobody likes Zeke except for the
Dallas fans,
coaching staff in Dallas. Yeah, and I don't even know about their fans.
Their
fans can see that Tony Pollard is better.
Not even the players. Like, why is he out here?
But yeah, I think in this last game, Zeke had 11 more touches than Pollard, and the next games is the Rams, and then Eagles, which and then the Lions. But the first two, you're not going to want to do anything there. But Pollard he appears to be the more explosive person. But what's the deal? I mean, I don't watch the game, so I can't tell you. I don't know.
Well, honestly, I don't. It's Dallas. I don't like either one of them. But the focus on fantasy,
right?
Personally, if I had to choose between the two, probably Pollard. But I mean, I tell you, Zeke doesn't look bad. I mean, they just haven't been. For me to pick up either one of them, they would have to be, they would have to have some real upside. And right now, maybe after their starter quarterback comes back, they'll look a little better. I just haven't seen anything out of either one of them that was really, something that I really want to jump at. But I mean, if you had to pick between the two, I don't know. To me, I think I probably would pick Pollard just because he's also getting a lot. He seems to be used a little more in the passing game, and he's a little younger, a little faster. So I would probably.
Like you said, Prescott's on his way back, and Gallup showed up and even ended up in the end zone.
I've been consistent since pre-draft, and I think this comes up almost every week. I just think Pollard is the better back at this point, at least in that offense and for what they're doing. And he's looked like the better back through 4 weeks now. I mean, when he gets the ball less and does more with it. So yeah, Pollard for me, definitely. If I had to choose, we conducted a trade today. There was a trade today in one of the leagues. Who was that? So we had somebody trade Ezekiel Elliott and what was the second back?
F. Wilson.
Yeah, and Wilson for Alvin Kamara.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a heavy trade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who wins?
Now, the one who got the two backs, the two serviceable backs. Yeah, for Kamara doesn't, to me, me and Jay were talking about this earlier, doesn't quite look like the Kamara of the last couple of years. He's just coming off an injury. I just got done playing him in my lineup for 0 points. And
that's not his fault.
I know. But even the projections for the upcoming week, both of those backs are projected to do at least what he does individually. So it's almost somehow if you really are that big of a fan of Kamara, I get it, but you got to be rational when you're sending out these trade requests and making trades. because to me he kind of, took away from his team just to get Kamara. But I don't know his back situation, his whole back situation. He may have 8 backs that are great. I doubt it, but
yeah, trades are funny. I received one today in our league. They wanted me to give them Ramondre Stevenson, and they were going to give me the wonderful option of Lazard.
Lazard, you can get some stuff for Lazard, boy. Yeah.
I'm gonna just hold on to it. I'm gonna hold on to Stevenson. Yeah. I see Stevenson taking over this backfield in the next 3 or 4 weeks, so I'll hold on to him.
Gotcha.
So
I see it. I mean, you know what though, with that Kamara trade, I get it. I mean, first, okay, since the beginning of the season, Kamara was out for the first week, right? Injured. Was he out the first week? Let me take a look at him.
Last week was the first week he was out. Let me see. I don't think he was out.
There was some. He was out week 2, so he's been out week 2 and week 4.
Mm-hmm.
Week 1, 9 attempts, 39 yards, 3 receptions. Week 3,
quarterback's not there.
Week 3, 15 attempts, 61 yards, 2 receptions. I think he's banking on Kamara being a lot more, getting in and playing. I remember first week he was already injured, so he wasn't supposed to play a lot. So I'm thinking, looking at the upside, if he gets back in form, I mean, that could be. I mean, Jeff Wilson's not going to do much. I mean, and Zeke, we just got finished talking about Zeke. I don't know what happened to Zeke. He's going, he's going into retirement. He's acting like it. So I mean, I get it because you haven't been able to see much of Kamara or how they're really going to use him. But I don't know. But I don't know if I would take that chance.
Well, so you guys ready to pick? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh no, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, I was gonna switch.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I could see him not using Jeff Wilson at all, even in the weeks that he's serviceable. And then if you just look at it as a one-on-one trade, Zeke for Kamara, then okay, I get it. But I don't know about giving up 2 backs for Kamara at this point.
Yeah, and keep in mind Elijah Mitchell, he's coming right back. He went out on IR in week 2. Well, week 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5. He'll be back in week 6. Y'all ready to get Raheem Mostert?
No.
Like the better back in Miami.
Either one of them was. They haven't even been using their backs.
Yeah.
So what?
Well, but now that you don't have quite as a prolific passer in there, that could change. That could change in short order.
One of the concerns that I have with my running backs is if they have a mobile quarterback attached to them. That's why I was kind of nervous about the J.K. Dobbins, Miles Sanders, the rest of those guys. But now, I mean, not that Teddy Two Gloves is a statue, but he's not the same mobile quarterback that we had in Tua. So,
right.
It might be if you're in a pinch, if you're in a pinch. Plus, if you're in a pinch like that, then that's probably what you need anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
You got issues if you're looking at doing that. you got some issues already. I wouldn't. I dropped Chase Edmonds in the league. It was a 10-team league.
Understand.
10-team league.
Oh, so you probably have plenty of other backs. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but
now I was pleasantly surprised with R. Penny this week. Rashad Penny. Now I don't know if I can expect anything near that moving forward. obviously we know they were playing Detroit. It is what it is, but I'll take it. Got me a W in a league that I was winless. So, but the hope is that they continue to feed him the rock. Because he's, I have him in a flex, and he's like probably the best flex I have because everybody else is right like David Montgomery. So every week it's like Penny or Montgomery. Either one. I could flip a coin for those two.
Well, I'm hoping Walker takes over the Penny. I'm not going to say that, but Penny does have a history of injuries.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hold on to Kenneth Walker, and we'll see how long things last over there.
And as a matter of fact, in that league, I do have Brees Hall as well. So, I mean, I could always, like Guru said, get him in that flex. He may be more consistent than the other two.
So what's up with these wideouts? What y'all doing with these wideouts? There's a whole lot of injuries, a whole lot of movement. What y'all doing?
Yeah. What you got on that, Jay?
What do you mean? As far as waiver wire?
Waiver wire updates. I mean, you got Mike Gallup that came back looking good. You got a lot of people looking at George Pickens. George Pickens from Pittsburgh, or some are trying to say Pittsburgh with him and Pickens and Pickett. You got a couple people looking good. Corey Davis. I know you guys are anti-Jet pickups, but Corey Davis, he's there. He's been there the whole time. But with Zach Wilson coming back, it kind of hurts Wilson and Morris output a little bit, because it's apparent that Zach Wilson, Mojo's number one quarterback, has a great professional relationship with Corey Davis. So it makes it interesting.
Like I did say the other day, I don't really mess with a lot of Jets. I do have I did pick the tight end up. He did okay. He did all right last week. I was a little nervous with the quarterback change, but he did his thing last week. I would take a flyer on Corey Davis. I mean, he's always been fairly consistent. Never turned out to be what he was supposed to be, but hasn't looked bad this season. He's been consistent so far the last 4 games.
Well, if you're willing to take a flyer on him, will you take a flyer on the Allen Pierces and the Robert Woods with the Trey Bees injury, Isaiah McKenzie, Devin Duvernay with the Bateman bang up?
I have Robert Woods in the league. And I probably will pick him. I mean, he's been consistent already this season. So he can't do anything but get it a little better with Burks not in. The rest of it, I don't know. Duvernay to me, don't get me wrong. I don't know. He seems to, he gets a little lucky now and then.
Yeah, I mean, he's a number 2 receiver, but the number 3 pass catcher. And Bateman, let me see what injury Bateman had. Bateman got hurt. He got banged. I think it was his calf. So if he misses any time, Devin Duvernay becomes your default number 1 wide receiver in the Baltimore offense.
I actually have him in 2 leagues already.
You want to keep him?
Yeah, he's been stashed on the bench, and that's where he'll stay. And if he becomes the number 1, he can make the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Or at least a flex.
Yeah, I definitely get it. He proved me right. That first week when he got those first 2 touchdowns, week 2 or 3.
Well, one of them was off a kickoff return.
Yeah. So I was a little skeptical of him, but he seems to be, he stays around the ball. He's staying in the game, so I can't knock him.
And he's a deep threat too, so I'll take it.
Yeah,
Well, I was wise enough to drop him last week to pick up Robert Woods because I was in a pinch. So maybe he's still there. What's up in New York?
Which one?
Oh, I keep forgetting there is another one. The Giants. The Giants receiving core. They just can't get healthy. None of them.
No.
I mean, Kenny G now hurt. It's ugly. Oh, well, I'll come back to that. I was going to ask you.
They're still winning games, which is interesting.
3-1.
You know, yeah, I'm impressed with the record. I don't know that it really speaks to how good the team is, but for fantasy purposes, that doesn't matter. Mr. Barkley, I'll take you all day. Outside of him, I can pass on all of them.
Yeah,
I don't see any other consistent players there.
Yeah, it's more of a holistic thing with the Giants passing attack with me. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, I think why wouldn't you play Kadarius Toney? I mean, he has the most talent out of all the receivers. And
I'm telling you, y'all not listening to me. I've been telling y'all, Kadarius Toney took the owner's daughter out and did her dirty.
Yeah, he said that. Yeah, said it like
it gotta be. It gotta be it. Give me a better reason. Give me any reason.
Said her dirty, left her out on the block.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney is like a baby Debo with the ball. Just, but we'll never know. We'll never see it again.
See, and that's why I don't want to take a chance on any of their wide receivers because obviously they have bad judgment. They have bad judgment. I'm not doing it. No.
And a bad offensive line. So those two things don't add up to a good receiver, you know.
But you know the bad thing about that, they're going to end up getting their quarterback hurt and Saquon Barkley hurt. You know, I don't understand why they wouldn't, really get at that wide receiving team. I mean, they beefed up their defense. I mean, take care of the O-line and get the wide receivers together, so you can save Daniel Jones from running every 5 minutes, taking hits. They're stacking the box on Barkley. And you're just waiting for some. That's why they've been hurt the past 2 years. So I don't understand it.
Let me ask you a joke that I heard from another analyst. If Dave Chappelle was talking to some witches, who would he say to put in the starting lineup as a receiver? Rich James, witch.
Oh. Boom, boom.
Rich James, witch. Don't ask me why he's talking to witches, but that's the only way I can get.
Oh boy, yeah. It's Halloween. I get. You should have saved that one for like week 7.
Richie James may not be a thing come Halloween. I had to get it in now.
Oh man.
Whatever. Don't care. All right.
I'm still
have more.
Here. Go, give me
I got more.
Oh yeah,
no,
keep over there.
Speaking of more, though. Speaking of more, I know a lot of people were running to pick up Mr. Rondale Moore in Arizona. Concerns with D-Hop returning. Well, with D-Hop's return on the horizon, and I believe Mr. What's his name? Anton Wesley is back. So, what do you think? I don't know. That game, Armour didn't really move the needle. So, what do you think? They normally, he's normally in the slot, but that's being occupied, and so he's playing out of position. They're kind of trying to put him all over. So, what are your thoughts on Rondale Moore? Because I know a lot of people are curious about him.
Honestly, I don't know if Rondale Moore is going to be more than he was last season.
So you're saying Rondale less? Is what you're saying?
More or less.
More or less.
But
I'm trying.
Yeah, please. But anyway, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be any more than he was last year. I mean, he to me, he's kind of shown what he is. I don't know. I don't see him being spectacular. He'll be good. I mean, I kind of like Dortch. They just took Dortch out the game. I'm like, come on, man. He got one catch. He got one target last week. But yeah, I think Rondell Moore is Rondell Moore. I mean, he's been in the league what now? 3 years? 3, 4 years?
Okay.
3 years now?
Well, I mean, he reminds me of people like the Curtis Samuel. Even though he probably has a little more uptick because Jay Dotson is probably going to be out for the next 1 to 2 weeks. But he reminds me of that kind of player. Like he doesn't have to get out in the open field. You just get the ball in his hand. But that's not happening. So
it didn't happen last year.
And it's kind of like the Giants situation where it's that holistic thing. You guys, until D-Hop comes back, that offense is a mess. They're not getting it done. Kyler Murray, for whatever reason, without D-Hop, he looks very basic. You can throw it to Ertz all you want, but everybody knows you're throwing it to Ertz. Connors, trash. So it's like, what do you do? So yeah, if anybody, Dortch, I like him too. Pick him up, stashed him way low on the bench somewhere. I'm not gonna play him no time soon.
I played him a couple weeks ago. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. He was fine.
Well,
I mean, 10.
But not a lot to look forward to out of anybody until D-Hop comes back. Then their offense will change dramatically at that point, I think. Well, you would think, but for right now, unless you're going to grab somebody and stash them deep on your bench, I don't know that it's a big rush to run out and get them.
Well, speaking of that, how do you think D-Hop is going to affect Hollywood? Will it help or hurt?
I don't know if he needs to. Hollywood hasn't. Well, let me stop.
It should help because obviously, more attention goes to D-Hop as soon as he comes back. But then how is he going to come back? Is he in shape? Well, of course, I would hope so. He's a professional and a very good one at that. So it should help. Should help everybody. Should help Ertz. Should help Connor. Should help Kyler Murray. I can't see it harming anybody other than maybe getting, even if he got fewer looks, the looks that he gets will be higher quality, I think.
Yeah, he'll be that. Like you said, that offense is always run through D-Hop. Once he gets on that field, then Brown can be the number 2 that he always is, high upside number 2, because he's going to get that 60-yarder as long as the attention isn't on him, So I don't know, Brown. He's always been that kind of wide receiver with me, so I try to stay away from. I like the more consistent D-Hop types, 10 plus targets a week, instead of that once every 3 games, you
have a good game,
yeah, 60, 70-yard bomb. So, but Brown will be fine. I think Brown will be fine.
Well, let me ask you about Vegas, the Raiders wideout room. We know who Mr. Devontae Adams is. But this Matt Collins character, he's on the field more than most of the league. He's like 96% as far as the routes being ran.
Why isn't he in the top 10 receivers? Right? He should be in the top 10.
When you have Devontae Adams and Waller on the same team, and not to mention, we didn't really talk about Josh Jacobs earlier, but he went completely bonanza
yes, he did
this past week. So when those things are happening, I guess you don't really have the same offensive opportunities. But he's out there though. For those who are in a pinch and need a streamer and need somebody, he's out there.
And somebody to go on the field, just running up and down the field. We'll take it.
Yeah, and it seems like is whatever. It seems like Winthrop's going to be in the concussion protocol a lot longer than it had anticipated.
He must be a pretty good blocker, is what I'm thinking.
Mac Hollins had the one good game. Okay, 150. 11. He's the same Mac Hollins that was on Philadelphia, right?
Oh, he was in Philly?
Yep.
Good, and did nothing.
That was Rieger?
Absolutely. That's why you like, oh, he was in Philly. Yep. He was on the field all the time.
All the time. Did nothing.
He just like to run on grass and stuff. You know.
So kind of like Devontae Smith this past week,
ringing the bell.
So was it kind of like Devontae Smith this past week or not?
Was what
low blow, buddy. Hey, guess what? Yeah, when you can overcome a 14-0 lead and deficit and still win the game, I don't care who does it. And that's the thing. Again, those Philadelphia Eagles
Jags,
3 Batmen. Actually, 4 Batmen. So yeah. So
name the 4 Batmen. Name
any given
4
week. Let's see. Name the 4.
Yes, I'm waiting.
Smith, Brown, Goddard, and Hurts. And my bad, 5. Kelsey, because he said he gonna score before the season over, boy. And he putting the cape on. Matter of fact, I'm gonna give Hassan Reddick a cape.
Do you know that Goddard only has 1 red zone look since 1 red zone look?
We don't go to the red zone often. We usually doing, something way long plays, bombs, doing them like that. We going straight to the end zone.
It's a balance attack. Balance attack.
Carry on.
And it depends on the game flow and your opponent. So it was raining. It was Hurricane Ian was there, or Tropical Storm Ian was there, and they found a way to do it. Mr. Sanders. At first I was like, wow, that's a lot of touches to get 134 yards, but it's almost 5 yards a carry, which is very impressive.
All right. I'll leave that.
So we put it on Mr. Sanders' shoulders this week. No problem. Who's next? And I didn't even name him as a Batman. Come on, man. We got 6 Batmen.
They can't say anything right now. They're waiting for that loss. They're waiting on the first loss.
So speaking of Dallas Goedert, what about those tight ends? And we had some that showed up this week. I think one that really stood out above all the rest.
Hockenese.
Yeah, Hockenese. Where did that come from?
I know, but it sure helped out.
Okay.
It sure helped out.
I'm sure it won a few people their week. Did anybody in fantasy score higher than him this week?
No.
I don't think in any of my leagues. It was him and
let me see. Jefferson, no.
Jacobs,
Jamal Williams, no.
Him, Jacobs, and Penny were like the top scorers, and I think Hockenson might have, because of the position, because you don't expect so much production out of a tight end. A lot of leagues score differently for them. So,
and that's just the way we drew it up in the draft, right?
Yep.
Hockenson, Jacobs.
Hockenson. I'm drafting Hockenson above Mark Andrews, above Kelsey,
Jared Goff, Geno Smith. Yep.
I happen to be on the wrong side of that whole Hockenson thing this week.
My condolences.
Yeah, it can definitely happen. Any given Sunday.
But you asked about tight ends, though. I know in about at least one particular platform, there's still 46%, and David Njoku is still available.
Wow.
And he has Chargers, Patriots, Ravens coming up, though. Robert Tonyan in Green Bay, Giants, Jets, and the Giants, Jets, and I'm not sure who, but Giants and Jets were the main ones to focus on. And one thing I will say about Tyler Conklin, I know y'all wonder why I keep talking about the Jets, because they're not good, they have to throw the ball. So I don't talk about Jet running back, but Tyler Conklin with the Jets, he was actually able to sustain a good role even with the change of quarterback, and I thought that was pretty significant because the wide receivers, their roles kind of shuffled all over the place, but Tyler Conklin was able to still maintain and be a top 12, so something to take into consideration as well.
He's a Jets
Especially if
fan,
you got a
guys.
George, huh?
In case
A
you're
Jets
tuning
fan?
in late, we want to let you know the Guru is a low-key Jets fan.
Yeah,
He's
I
been
guess it's the
talking
only
about him
green
for
team
weeks.
I support. It's the only green team I'm gonna support.
Jets, Jets.
While he's over there talking nonsense, did you all happen to see the game last night and take a peek at that dude? I forget his name because it's not important. Something Matthew or Maddie or whatever his name is, but his safety valve, Mr. the other Tyler Higbee, the safety valve for the LA Rams. He has the most targets, and he's doing is producing more and more. He's definitely the number 2 receiver on the field outside of Mr. Cup.
Yeah, I started him in 2 leagues. I've got him on the bench in another. But yeah, he's been serviceable all season so far. I had him last year too in a couple of leagues. Like you say, he's going to keep feeding them the rock. He's definitely somebody that you want to pick up as far as a tight end because he can get you points every week. Maybe not as high profile as an Andrews or a Kelsey, because he's not, because a lot of his receptions are short. He doesn't have.
Bro, he went 10 for 73. 10 for 73. Receivers are not even getting that.
Yeah, and that's a lot.
An automatic 17 plus bonuses.
But you look at the higher profile tight ends, they'll go 5 for 60. So they're getting a lot more yard, not more yak than him.
You mean like Mr. Kittle, 2 for 22? Talking about that guy?
No, I'm not talking about that guy. I've never drafted Kittle. I don't like Kittle. I don't know why. He couldn't even get it.
I know who you're talking about.
He couldn't even get his feet down yesterday.
I know who you're talking about. You're talking about the guy that everybody drafted early. You probably drafted him in the second or probably the third round, and because you drafted Mr. Pitts, pitiful armpit, whatever you want to call him, in the third round, I
don't have him anywhere.
Now your team is, as a true say, is unbalanced because you're missing a stud wideout, a stud RB because you have Mr. Pitts. So what do? You can't trade him.
Mr. Pitts? True, AJ. You know this guy, Mr. Pitts. I don't know about him. I have no stock.
Oh, you know Mr. Pitts. I
got no stock in him.
I have a lot of stock in him.
I have one.
But
auto draft.
The caveat to that though, he's been targeted a lot. All it's going to take is for them to get it together. He had 82 yards one game this season, but every other game he's gotten targeted down the field. It's just a matter of things working out. I mean, that's a little different than a tight end that just does work.
Nothing. Doesn't have the targets. Yeah.
His situation is much different than your average tight end who's not doing much. They're not getting targeted 40 yards down the field every game 2 or 3 times.
Right.
So this is more of a timing issue. New quarterback. Once they get that together, going into playoffs and the champion, he'll be fine.
Yeah, I can see how that could work itself out during the course of the season, where you're looking at week 7, week 8. He really starts showing up, and if the rest of your team is put together right, you're looking at some wins.
Exactly.
Well, they got to change their quarterback, and it's going to happen. Especially with Cordero Patterson being out, I think it's going to open it up. You got Drake London out there; they're not really taking advantage, like you said, of the way they could with him. And we just got to get a quarterback back there because you can't trade Pitts. Nobody is going to trade you for him, and you can't bench him. It's like every week is like, this has got to be the week. This has got to be – nope, it wasn't the week. Okay, this has got to – nope, it wasn't the week. And at what point do you decide, let me go find Tyler Conklin?
Right.
How
And
many
then
misses is it gonna take?
even then, it's going to be tough for you to sit him.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because it
but he
could be
was
that
dropped
82
in one league.
yard with a touchdown week.
And here's the cool part. Somebody dropped him in one of my NFL leagues, and I saw it, and so I dropped somebody. I think McKissick, and I picked up Pitts, and I picked him up, and I was like, my
This is
tight
going to
end
be
is
weak.
Kelsey. I was like, no, well, my tight end is Kelsey, and I picked him up with the hopes like, okay, one day he's gonna do something, and I can trade him, and I've had him for 2 weeks now, so. He's just
Or
sitting there on the
you
bench.
just hold him and hope that on Kelsey's bye week is
Bye
that week that he gets it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. That's what's going to have to happen. And if not, then I don't know. Maybe I can trade him for a kicker. The disrespect.
The disrespect is real. So what about these defenses? While we mosey on along, we getting deep in the hour.
Yeah.
Jacksonville. We got Jacksonville versus Minnesota, Chicago. No, sorry, take that. Jacksonville versus Texans, Colts, and then the Giants. So that's something that not only you can plug and play, but you can hold on to. I like Minnesota. They got Chicago coming up. They're a run-heavy offense right now. And after that, they have the Dolphins in the car. So I wouldn't play them against the Dolphins. But by that time, Teddy's going to figure out how to get the ball to Waddle and to Tyreek, to Cheetah. So those are the two. Miami has the Jets, the Vikings, the Steelers. There are a lot of defenses you can stream right now. Tennessee.
To be honest, most of the defenses you named shouldn't really be on your wire.
They are.
And they are, because a lot of fantasy teams, owners will just get one defense. I'd say in half of my leagues, I have two defenses. Just because week to week, depending on the opponent, I can switch between them. But of course, there's one league I will not pick up another defense. I'm just going to run with Buffalo all season, see what happens. Because it was just a bad experience, bad taste in my mouth. So yeah, don't want two defenses there. But yeah, in some leagues, people will carry two defenses just because the matchup can really depict who you're going to play. Which one you're going to play.
Bro, I have a league with Buffalo
last week. Outside of this last week, Jacksonville was a top ranked defense. But then they came across quite the opponent. So,
But check those waivers, because I saw on one of my leagues, Buffalo's defense was dropped last week.
Wow.
I don't know what they were. I'd drop a kicker and go no kicker. Well, depending on the league that you're in. But yeah, I don't know who.
Yeah.
I don't know what they picked up for him, but Buffalo was dropped, I guess, going up against the Ravens. I don't know.
And I'm going to have Young Phil back on the show one day so he can thank me. After week 1, I think it was, he tried to drop the Eagles defense in 2 leagues.
Why you stop him? I was sure would have pounded on that.
I don't know. I should have sat there and be like, yeah, go ahead, and then just picked him the heck up. But I just felt bad. Like, come on, man, what are you doing? He's like, they let Detroit put up all these points. It's week 1, man, and look at these names on this defense. But yeah, so he's won a couple of games since then, thanks to that.
Speaking of drops, in order to pick up somebody, you got to drop somebody. So, who are y'all looking?
Not necessarily.
What?
Not necessarily.
IR spots.
If you have an extra spot, like I might have a couple of teams where I have a spot, empty spot there, either because I put somebody on IR or I just drop somebody out of a rage drop.
Well, in other leagues where you don't have that, there are some leagues. You got some people like, are you holding on to Julio Jones?
No.
Richie James Jr.?
Who?
Richie James, New York.
Rich? Lionel Richie. I never had him on my team. Never had him.
Greg Dortch.
I'm keeping him on my team deep on the bench.
This one's for you, Truth, because I already know Mojo. What about Herb Smith?
Who?
Wow. Never mind. I got the answer.
There's your answer, and that'll do it.
You do have the answer.
Right. And that truth kind of hurt. So, and I know.
And just so you know, Guru, I took your advice last week, and I dropped the kicker and picked up a better kicker because most of the time I would literally not even consider it. I just roll with whatever kicker I drafted, and on his bye week I get a new kicker, and I roll with that guy to the end of the year. But when I I think about it in the draft though. When I first draft the kicker, I'm like, all right, this team moves the ball, but they don't score touchdowns. That's my guy. But it hasn't been working out quite that way. So yeah, I switched up kickers and it worked out for me this week. Got one kicker had me like 17 points. I'm like, great, this is exactly what I needed. So
I had somebody argue me down. He picked up Rodrigo Blankenship, and I texted him. I was like, "What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh, he's the best kicker." And I was like, "You mean last year?
Why is he the best kicker?
He's not even the best kicker on his team." I said, "Bro, go look at the depth chart." And he was like, I don't need to. And I was like, all right, I left it alone. And then the next day I saw he dropped him. And I was like, what happened? He was like, he's not even active. I was like, exactly. Yeah. Check what you're doing.
Yeah, make sure you check. Don't just go off that name that you know from 10 years ago. Right. That doesn't always work.
So you streaming, right, Mojo? Quarterback?
Yes, sir.
You got Jameis Winston, maybe Trevor Lawrence, Derek Carr, Kirk Cousins.
Winston. I have Jameis Winston in 2 leagues, and I got him on IR. And I don't know.
He'll be back.
I know he'll be back, but it's just I'm impatient because I'm really, I had to get a Zach Wilson, and I had to run this guy and that guy. It's just I'm stuck. Russell Wilson finally showed up. I hope it's the beginning of something great, but I doubt it.
Well, okay, consider this. With Javonte Williams going out, he's going to have to throw the ball more, or he's going to have to move his little legs more. So
right. Either way, it helps me.
Sutton. Or even Alberto. I know we don't talk about Alberto, probably for good reasons, but Hamler got some. So, yeah, I think Russell's going to be all right. I tried to trade for him last week. It didn't work out, but, yeah. Russell be
and
all
it's
right.
Just, I think it's growing pains, like you mentioned last week. I think how he hadn't really gotten in with that team and, really worked together and gotten that rhythm and comfortability with the old system. So hopefully he grows into it throughout the season. I was going to rage drop him, but he's better than the quarterbacks that are on most wires. So I got to keep him. But I'm still looking to stream quarterbacks to play, looking at matchups and who's available. To see if maybe I can get some more favorable points until he is proven to me that he is serviceable. Because 1 week does not fantasy make,
Well, definitely look at them waivers and see who other people drop, because there's a lot of decisions that's going to be made tonight. People are going to be emotional and just dropping people like crazy. So pay attention to who's being dropped, and it might be somebody that you can scoop up, put on your bench.
Yeah, and don't you be the emotional one.
Never that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, real quick before we leave, I got a trade. Akers, Duvernay, Knox for Eckler.
Akers, Duvernay, Knox for Eckler? Nah.
Nope.
Because the only thing you're
losing the top back.
Yeah, you talking about Akers for Eckler, because Duvernay is he's the third option. Well, fourth if you consider. Well, fifth. You got Andrews, you got Lamar, you got JK, and you have Bateman.
I already dropped Knox in the league. I've dropped Knox in the league already.
Yeah, Knox is not even an option. And Duvernay
like you said, it will be you basically getting chased for Eckler, and whoever's losing Eckler is not getting enough back to make up for that
Well,
unless
you
you
didn't
have
say Chase, did
unless
you?
you have a back on the bench that can make up that difference, you know.
Did you say
Or a
Chase?
receiver.
I wouldn't. No, Akers.
Akers, I
No,
mean, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, nah, yeah, and that's not even nah.
Hell no.
Basically,
Hell no, I wouldn't make that trade. I'm gonna let them sit there and look at it for the next 2 days.
Yeah, Jay told me that too. If somebody sends you a ridiculous trade, just let it sit there. Don't respond to it. Don't do anything. Let it sit there so they think you're thinking about it.
right. That's when petty becomes petty. Right.
Right.
That's
I'm
nice.
considering it. I'm considering it. Yes.
You never know. You never know.
I would take a flyer on Akers for like some mid-level wide receiver, just in case something happens over there. But I don't like that backfield anyway.
And keep in mind, if somebody's offering you a 3 for,
right,
they're probably trying to get you.
It's a reason.
Right.
Not to mention that means you have to.
I got 5 chips in that league.
Yeah, and then you also have got to consider you probably have to drop a person or two.
That's what I was getting ready to say. You have to drop 2. So
That's a dumb trade. It's not going to happen. It'll never happen. I wouldn't even think
unless your bench was really terrible and you could use those, you could use a Knox. Like if you had you had a tight end that was hurt or no tight end at all, and you could use a Knox, and you was really light at wide receiver, and you could use Duvernay. It would have to be really beneficial.
All those players, there's options on the waiver.
Exactly. Those are waiver pickups. No. Mm-hmm. You better off picking up any of the guys we talked about today. I'll take Albert versus Knox. I'll take Pickens.
I'll pick up these 3 guys.
I'll take Corey Davis over Duvernay. At least I know I got something.
I'll take Pacheco over Akers right now.
Right. So, the only thing I would add is to please make sure everybody take your Thursday night players out of their flex position and put them in a regular position. If nothing else shows you the Sunday incident with Kamara, if you have Kamara, if that was a Thursday game, then you just locked up you locked up your pivot option if you put him in the flex position. So don't forget, take your players out of their position, out of the flex. No flexes on Thursday. Put them in their regular position. And they'll get there, step closer to that chip.
Just don't play your Thursday players. Leave them on the bench.
Well, that too, unless they're a stud. So who's Thursday?
Yeah, unless they're a stud, leave them on the bench. I do not like Thursday games, folks.
We have the Colts. Oh, we didn't even talk about Jonathan Taylor injury, but we have the Colts and we have the Broncos. Yeah. So who are you automatically playing?
Go.
You said what?
I said, yeah, we got to talk about Jonathan Taylor, and I got to go.
Oh, go. Well, Well, who you playing? Who's your automatic for that game? You playing Taylor if he plays?
If he plays, yeah.
Yeah, if he plays, absolutely.
How can I not? I got to play him,
Right.
I don't like playing anybody, with an injury designation, but.
Like Alvin Kamara?
You're right. But McCaffrey did well last week.
Yeah, he got 9. Yeah, he had 9 receptions. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, he showed up. So
yeah.
Well, another week, gentlemen.
Another week. Again, we're going into week 5. Everybody, make sure you're prepared. As the guy said here, make sure you set your lineups. If you want, get those guys out of your flex for your Thursday games if you have to play them. Don't forget about the early game on Sunday in London. Make sure you set those lineups on Saturday night. I will make a point to do that this week. Definitely want to thank y'all for tuning in once again for the 3 Faces of Fantasy. Until next time, we'll be here again. You can find us 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday in a very light and enjoyable show. And again, next Tuesday. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For the 3 Faces of Fantasy again, it's Mojo. Like, share, and subscribe.